My wife and I just got back from a really nice trip to Nolens last week, and we took an airboat ride. That's, I think, a prerequisite, something you want to do. And somewhere between the Mississippi River and Lake, how do you pronounce that? Lake
Catawatch.
Catawatch. Okay, it's French. What is it again?
Catawatch.
Okay, somewhere between the Mississippi River and that lake was a place they had a really nice airboat tour, and sitting in the bow of an airboat overlooking a huge swamp on a crisp December morning, it's a good way to put things in perspective for the year end and a nice way to finish off 2023. Come on inside and we'll talk about it. Well, hi everybody, I'm Bill Bateman, part of the team here at Refuse to be a Victim Personal Protection Training. Time for another edition of Survival Beyond the Bug Out Bag. And it is our holiday edition, and we'd like to talk to you a little bit about what's going on, things I may have learned. First of all, Merry Christmas. That's what we say at our house. Happy holidays, whatever you say at your house. It's, I think, the thought that counts, and the very best from all of us here to all of you. I mentioned we did a trip to New Orleans. Nolens is what I like to call it. I'll probably get letters on how to correct my pronunciation, and I welcome those. Thank you very much. We did all of the touristy things. We took the double-decker bus tour around the city, saw a lot of things we normally wouldn't have got to see, so that's good. Thanks to the guides, we hopped off and had a memorable lunch at Dragos in the Hilton near the French Quarter. It's probably the best gumbo my wife and I have ever had, and it was a wonderful overall lunch with an excellent person who gave us good advice and good service. I also had the worst excuse for a po' boy I've ever had in my entire life. That was at the French market. Yuck, shame on you. We watched filming on Bourbon Street from the back of a pedicab while we were having what we're going to claim was coffee out of a covered cup. The pedicab driver was exceptional. He took us from point A to point B and ended up suggesting instead of walking down Bourbon Street, which is really not all that long, take a pedicab ride. You don't get hit on as much by the beggars and the annoyances and things. We got to see filming, and he told us about a place we could get alligator on a stick, and that's something you don't normally have every day. Ended up also having some beignets. Have to do that, and mine attacked me. I was covered in powdered sugar from the waist down, and wearing a pair of black pants, I presented a really interesting figure on the street. By the way, that airboat company we were riding with was in Luling, Louisiana. It was called Ragin' Cajun, and it was 50s. It got cold down there, and the next day, of course, it was going to be warm, but that was the day we were there. It was too cold for gators. The water was lower than normal, but you know what? We still had a good time thanks to a really great guide. And as I pointed out, it's a good way, overlooking a huge swamp from the bow of an airboat, to kind of put things in perspective. And I think it's time to do a year-end wrap-up. And I'm going to do that. And the key point of all of this, it's all about the people. Whether you're taking the classes, and I'm first sending a shout-out to Phil and CJ and all the rest of the staff and volunteers out at the shooting range, every one of those people is top drawer. Every one of them I stand behind. I respect them. We may not agree on everything all the time, but by gosh, we have each other's backs, and we're concerned about you. It's all about addicting you to safety. It's all about being a responsible shooter, knowing what's right, what's wrong, how to effectively exercise your Second Amendment rights, and not become a victim. And that's very important. And what's key to this is all of the people we met on our tour, on our trip to Louisiana, all of those people that really, really made me comment on them in a good way were because they were being good folks too. They were doing their job. They were working hard to make sure that we, the guest, or we, the customer, experienced what we came for, what we expected. Our server had that seafood lunch went out of her way and did just a really good job. The pedicab driver, a young man pedaling a bicycle around with people in it all day, had had a slow day, but he suggested, hey, if you're still going to be looking for something to do later, I got a good idea. And it was really great. And what could have turned into a boring disaster, the speedboat or airboat ride, I guess you call it, well, it was exceptional. We didn't have any alligators, but we had wildlife galore. We got to see wild pigs on the bank. The guide even managed to catch one of the piglets. My wife got to hold it, gave it a little scritch, a pet, and put it back, and it ran right back to Mama. It's okay. It's the people. It's the people that make things work. And that's what I want to keep in mind. First, saying thank you to everyone, both the folks I work with and the folks who gave my wife and I such a great time down in Nolo. And I want to talk about the preppers, too. That's you and I, we family. And I'm looking at you as family, especially at the holiday season. We as family have had quite an interesting year. I want to look back at what we've done this year and kind of put things in perspective. I do want to point out that for next year, I believe we are going to see continuing rising prices and shortages, actually, in food. Plan for hotter weather and more shortages. Could see some problems with water. And these are all issues that are coming. You don't have to believe it, but they're going to be here. Way back in February, one of the first podcasts I did for this year was about the increasing cost of eggs and how the price had actually doubled and gotten up from what we were paying to near $10 in some area. And this is not for magic eggs. This is just for regular store-bought, come in the cardboard, and 2 of them are already broken eggs. We're seeing also, and this was demonstrated to me several times this year, right here where we live, not all needs for your prepper skills are going to come in because of a major disaster, a hurricane, an earthquake, a forest fire. All of these things are very valid, very real, very important, but also minor problems. Key problem here in the park, I went to turn on the water one morning, we had no water. A water line had been ruptured between point A and point B. We were in the area and we didn't have any water. Okay, well, then when it came back, it wasn't real good for a while, and we had to deal with cleaning up our own water until the filtering and everything got back on track. Okay, that's an excellent reminder that not everything has to be a life-changing television quality disaster for you to need backup and emergency preparations. I'd like to re-emphasize that for the holidays and for the coming year as we head into 2024. Being able to have those, we just have 5 or 6 of those 5-gallon containers of water. We were able to make sure that we had coffee, we could flush the toilet, we could do the dishes, and things are back to normal fairly quickly. I didn't have to run to the store with 600,000 of my closest friends trying to buy bottles of water at the last minute. Look, we talked last year about financial prepping, and I've seen personal examples of this as well. Rent and income, 2 things that continue to pass each other in different directions. Rents and costs of living is going up. Income is going down. Financial planning is very important, especially as we look at the holidays and we're all tempted to splurge, get that little extra this, get that little extra that. I urge you, and I did this, I think, last week even, as recently as, talking about using the holiday seasons to take a look at what you can get, what you can acquire, what you can prepare for with these holiday sales. I've seen, and I mentioned it last time, I've got coupons for 40, even 50% off on things I'm using, on things I need, on things I want to try out, and now, at half price, it's worth trying. I also actually got a BOGO, buy one, get one, we wanted to get some better respirators. I had a respirator, it was face only, and I've often said you need to cover your eyes as well as your face. You don't want that something, a toxin or something, smoke, heat, anything terrible in your eyes any more than you want it in your lungs. And I saw a coupon, and I put the site up last week, that you could get buy one, get one on respirators, year-end sales. So if you're going to be fiscally responsible in your purchasing, if you're going to be fiscally responsible in your planning, and you're going to budget your money as we do to make sure that our limited income keeps up with increasing costs, a good way to do it is buying smart at the proper time. And holiday seasons, from right now when you're listening, all the way up to in the January sales when they got these year-end clearances. Oh my gosh, you can get some really good ideas. The trick is not to just go buy something on an impulse. No, it's part of your plan. So the holidays are an excellent time to not only revisit the financial aspect, but to take a look at the family aspect. And I always say I call you my family. I have a real family, of course. I look at you as real family. You come in here, many of you have regular listeners, and thank you for that. I hope you're sharing this with your friends and your coworkers, things like that. I looked at emergency information. Getting emergency information, and this is really important about people I care about, and that is you, as well as my wife and my son and things like that. They're a little higher on the list, I gotta be honest about that, but emergency information, back as far as July, I began beating the drum again on the getting emergency information in our community. I was taking time out. I took, I think, part of July and August off to prepare for the Ollie class that I teach every year. I had 50 people this year, just like last year, and 50 people stuck with me. So thank you for that. And we had, I'd say about 9-10 hours of actual one-on-one instruction where I talked directly to them, in addition to pages. I want to say 16 pages of reference material that went out. And one of those things was trying to get emergency information out to people, and I still, to this very date, it's what is it today? The 10th. It's December the 10th. I still don't have a good information from our local media on what their plan is on how to get emergency information out. We are seeing more tests. I've had much better luck with the text alert systems. Thank you for that. And there is some action, but as far as who do you turn to, I think it's each other. And it really has always been. What else did we talk about last year? I got into the question of saying when. We looked at some of the issues that go beyond what you're going to put in a bag. What are we going to drink out of? Or how are we going to make our coffee? We talk about things that people tend to forget. Everybody remembers to bring the instant coffee. Nobody remembered to bring a cup. Let's look at full-on, well-thought-out planning. This is a good time of year to do it as you're making a list and checking it twice and overspending for the holidays. Also, it's a good time when you got the family together to look at your plans, look for holes in your plans. And as I mentioned, we did talk about beyond the actual physical properties and fiscal properties. We talked about the emotional aspects involved in this, the toll it can take on a family when I disagree with you strongly on one side or the other of an issue, and that's half of America. Half of us think one way, half of us think another, but we are one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice, not for those who can afford it, but for all. Kind of an important thought. And I talked about saying when. I stand by that broadcast. I actually held back about 50% of what I wanted to say because I'm talking now as a group, not just as Bill. I might put out just Bill programs in the coming year, but right now we want you to stay active in a positive way And remember, this is, in fact, where we all have to live. Looking over what we did the last year, I feel pretty good about it. Looking at 2024, we are going to continue to modify and update our information. 2024 is the year I'm going to go in to the older broadcasts and update some of the information in the write-ups. I'm not going to redo those podcasts because it's good information. And the classic example is it used to be you needed 2 weeks of preparation material. Now 30 days is a minimum of a stockpile, that type of thing. And I want to make sure that information is active. And what I want to leave you with for this week, before we get into the classes and such, is that it is all about us, all about the people. Keep your expectations realistic. We went out in the middle of that swamp in an airboat, just us. It was a nice tour. It wasn't like Disneyland where you had a swamp boat every 10 feet and they were just going through these canals. We were out in the middle of nowhere. The guy took us out and showed us a duck blind that had been there for like 50 years. And just nothing. All these birds and strange sounds coming along. And if you have the expectation of it looking like Miami Vice with the gators jumping in and snakes dropping out of the trees, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you get out there and it's too cold for gators, in fact, it was a little cold for us, we still had a great time because we had our eyes open, we had our ears open, and we were willing to see. We were willing to find out what was there. So it is all about the people. Look at who you're dealing with. Look what they're giving you in exchange for what you're giving them. Look at what you're gaining. And I'm not talking about $5 here and $10 there. I'm talking about the value. I cannot put a price on what my wife and I got on this last vacation. And yeah, the beignets were good, and the pedicab ride was wonderful. And the poor boy, well, okay, it was crap. But we still had the expectation of one thing, the result of another, and we're able to adjust and modify that. After the terrible po' boys, we went down and my wife found a place. We may have to move. She loves the pralines that they make down there. I had one. Oh my God, my glucose meter actually, I began to vibrate in my back pocket. The thing was exceptional. So even though we didn't have a great experience at Sandwich Shop A, we had a wonderful experience at the candy shop just down the street. It's all about the people. Remember, brothers and sisters, it's us. It's us. We're all in this together. Half of us are not going to be taken away in a wave of light. I don't believe that. I think we're all going to have to work this out together. So getting into kind of the holiday theme, the holiday spirit, again, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays to you. Manage your expectations. Keep your perspectives real and your expectations manageable. And remember, a lot of interesting people are out there waiting for you to discover, even if they give you a crappy sandwich. All right, that's my rant for this week. I want to talk about the classes, and I'm going to mention this again because last time I mentioned we had done something different, and I'm still modifying the website. It's going to be easier, especially in January forward, to register for your classes. The classes are scheduled throughout the year. Let's say you want to take the concealed carry class. That happens the second Saturday of every month. Same location, same time, so you can look on the second Saturday of each month from the registration site, pick the day you want to go, register for it, and it's taken care of. Same thing with the concealed carry mastery and the basic pistol. We've got a number of classes, and we've been trying to decide on when to offer them. We're going with the if you build it, they will come model. You can schedule any class all the way through till next year right now. You can get it taken care of, get it on. And if you want to take first the concealed carry and then give it a couple months and a couple of weeks and then take the concealed carry mastery, that's a good plan. If you'd like to work out a program, give us a call and say, okay, we'll give you the basic pistol now and maybe some practice sessions, and then you're going to want to try a concealed carry and then the concealed carry mastery. You can put an actual curriculum together. And this is one of the things we're committed to, making sure the education you get is first rate. We have the skills, the personal experience, and the academic input on this to make sure these classes are really, really valuable. And so that's all we've got on that. Have a good holiday. Be good to one another. Hope to see you at the range. Till next week, be safe. The preceding program was a presentation of Retired Guy Productions.